All right, just getting set up here for this live stream. We're going to be upgrading this Monoprice Mini here. I just need to add my other camera. So let's say invite and go over to. So I'm adding my other camera right now. It does require a little bit of work here. So let's see if we can do this. We'll mute that one because we'll take the mic and we'll do the cam link. There we go. And of course you guys can't see me yet, but we'll go with that. All right. So Graybeard here, John from Graybeard 3D. Today we're going to be upgrading this Monoprice Mini. We're going to try to get a magnetic bed installed that I found on Amazon, and then a dual drive extruder installed as well. I'm going to worry about like the physical connection for now. We'll see if I can get to checking the E-steps to make sure that that's okay. But other than that, we're just going to make sure everything else is going to work out. So hopefully you hear me okay. Let me go check my YouTube video real quick, make sure the audio is working. Because sometimes it gets a little bit goofy. Come on, YouTube. What did I just do? No, I am not trying to play this. That is so weird. All right, back to my YouTube. So I was on my channel, and then I went to click the video, and right before I clicked, it flipped over to a Tom video, and I'm like, I don't want to check that. So let me see. Do we have audio? I don't want to check that. Okay. Yep. So it sounds like I have audio. Jumping back over. Too many screens, too much stuff at once. What I'm going to do for this one, I had some pixelation issues with the last stream. So what I'm going to do with this one is stop the stream you're looking, or the camera you're looking at here, and just focus on the one on the Mini. And hopefully that will reduce the pixelation and streaming issues with this. We have a Mini here. It is plugged in and powered on. And let me get that on screen. And let me go ahead and remove myself. Okay, so we have this Mini here. As you can see from the bed. Hey, Paul, how are you doing? As you can see from the bed, we do have some damage here. Looks like the nozzle hit the bed a few times. This is my son's printer, and this is what he deals with. He has to use a scraper with it, and it's very hard. We've already replaced the bed surface once. I pulled one off of an Ender 2 and used that once, but now we have to put something else on here, and I'd prefer to get him away from having to use a scraper. So let's just see if we can get this stuff off. It's a little bit tricky. Now, if you've ever bought the Monoprice Mini, even if you get like the V1 or the new Pro, they do the bed cabling on the inside under here, and it's very constrained, and it forces it to bend very tightly, and it doesn't take long at all for it to break. So this 3D printed side panel here, which can be printed on the Mini itself. And then the wire from the bed, you just reroute it from the outside into the side panel here. And by doing that, you reduce that strain on the cable, and you're going to get much more life out of the printer than if you were to leave it under the bed, kind of bending sharply over itself. It just wears out way too quick. So let me go ahead and try to get the Z. Oops, looks like my power flickered. Let me get the Z higher. It is very slow moving. Oops, wrong way. You can see how fast the Monoprice raises the Z. It's not really a concern though, because when you're printing, Z goes up very little. He had some very good prints out of this just the other day. You know, when I first saw the extruder, I'm like, okay, this extruder is a problem. I had him slow it down. I had him print hotter, etc., to try to fix his problem. But after seeing his prints the other day, now I'm wondering, should I bother changing this extruder at all? Well, I have it, so we're going to do it. All right, so removing this old bed surface, I'm just supporting the bed, so when I peel this back, I'm not harming it. In fact, it might even help if I heat the bed. So let me go over. Let me go to monitor, platform. All right, so looks like 60 is the highest you can do off the menu. So it is a color menu. It's not a touchscreen, but that's okay as well. There you go. You have the first Monoprice Select Mini Print V1. Did you reroute your bed wire, Paul? Some people may never have the problem. This one failed within 2 weeks of use. The bed wire broke, and I actually had to replace the wire itself, which you don't actually want to do because it's hard to solder it unless you have a really good soldering iron. So if you can get it fixed or get it rerouted before it fails, you're better off. So I'm hoping by heating this bed to 60 that it just helps release this glue a little bit better. Because right now, it's just a pain in the butt. I'm using my fingers to kind of try to support the bed near where I'm pulling. And the reason for that is I don't want to cause a warp in the bed. I just want to get the surface off. Okay, so I got this surface off. That's only half the battle here. The other half of the battle is now we have all this icky, sticky stuff all over the bed, and it's going to cause uneven surface for the new bed. So we have to get this off too. I can feel it's getting up to 60. It feels quite warm. And it looks like I can peel this stuff or roll it off. But I did bring a few different scrapers. Let me see what I have here. I have a plastic scraper, which I want to try first. So this is called a plastic razor. And it's just like a traditional razor, straight edge razor type thing, except it uses plastic. And the nice thing about that is you're less likely to damage your surface. The bad thing about it is it's not as stiff as a regular razor. So it's more easily damaged, etc. So this seems to be working pretty well with it. Yeah, rerouting that bed wire is very important. And I often end up recommending this printer to people who want something that's pre-built, small for a desk, relatively quiet. This printer itself is quite quiet. So this ends up getting recommended a lot, but my only downside to recommending it is I really am concerned when I recommend something that needs a mod, such as a bed wire reroute. So that does bother me. Unfortunately, there's just not a better choice right now in this category, in my opinion. Just nice, cute, small printer. Easy enough for a kid, really. Hey, Mike, how's it going? So we're just trying to remove the glue off this bed right now. It is coming along. I'm just kind of working around the edges here. After I get this off, or if I start to run into problems, I do have some goof off or some sticker remover that we will try to use as well. I'm hoping if I get to a certain point, I can peel it as one. The bed is on. It is at 60 degrees right now. It can't go any higher, at least through the menu. It can't go any higher. Some people will put a little bit of cork under the bed to help it keep the heat better, give it less work to do. All right. So, yeah, this is a very portable machine, a very sturdy metal frame. Yeah, in all effects, I still recommend this printer a lot, just because of its size. It is relatively quiet. It is relatively easy to work with. Now, the Monoprice Mini Delta, I have opposite opinions on. That one gives me a lot of headaches, and it might just be mine. I did get a refurb. I've tried all kinds of things to fix it up, and it just gives me headaches. So sometimes you work through printers. Yeah, a 5-gallon pail. Sometimes you work with different printers, and other people have completely different experiences. And I just think that some of these printers are just so mass produced that you can end up with kind of variances or just little differences. So somebody else out there is probably like, oh, I have the Monoprice Delta. It's the best thing ever. Yeah, good. But this is the mini printer I recommend. Maybe when I get the Prusa Mini, that'll be the mini printer I recommend. The Prusa Mini just tends to be a little bit high on the budget, at over double the cost of this. Yeah, you can enclose this printer pretty well. The hot end cooler could be a little bit better. The whole hot end design is pretty compact, so that's nice. But the cooler on it could be better. So we're over half done this hard part, and I call it the hard part because it's just tedious. Then we'll move on to putting the new, or making sure it's clean, and then putting the new bed surface on. You try to, now that I have a little bit of a area to lift, I'll try to get as much of this as possible. Yeah, the plastic razor seems to be doing fine. But if I can get some easy wins by pulling on this, I'll take them. I originally bought this plastic razor because I wanted to use it as a print lifter. But the curvature I want to lift prints, I want to do it upside down. And the only problem with that is when I start to lay it down, let me see if I can get it on angle, that screw head hits. And I can't find an easy way to kind of like reverse that. Because otherwise, this would make a perfect way to get under a print if it wasn't for that little screw there. So that thumb wheel. I'm sure somebody can figure it out. Plastic razor makes a good tool as well if you're removing a sticker from something you care about, or maybe something with your car, you're trying to remove a decal. Maybe the thing that says the brand or the dealership where you bought it, you want to get that off the car. I would use plastic with that. So are you guys having a good Sunday? And did you have a good holiday this week, if you celebrate it this week? Mike, you're over in Canada, right? We are at 59 degrees right now on this bed. That is, of course, Celsius. And we are almost done. Now, the extruder I bought is made for an Ender 3. It looks like it will work. I have no idea. This is an experiment. We're going to see if it works. I have read that some people say you need to change your E-steps if you use it. I'm not sure why. I assume the motor still turns the same amount. Just okay, Paul? Hopefully you got to see a lot of family or something, or... we're almost done here. Then we'll move on to cleaning it with the sticker remover, which I'm thinking is just going to help remove any residue. Maybe I should get some alcohol as well. Okay, just a few bits left. I think the blade on the razor is getting a little soft under the heat. And a little over here. Okay, I still just see a little residue, but not the papery stuff anymore. So I have this sticker remover by Gugon. I'm not sure. I'm just going to squirt it on there. Hopefully not catch on fire or anything. Oh, it's not really a squirt. It's just an open container. Right now, I just want to make sure I get it everywhere, more or less, so it starts activating or getting under or getting that goo. And then I'll start to focus on areas where I still see sticker stuff. So, cool. It seems to be wiping it right off. Let me go try to find alcohol, because if this stuff's made to remove stickers, the last thing I want to try to put on this is a sticker with it still with this material here. But it looks like it took it right off. And I'll dry it. Monday after Earth. Oh, Wendy's for Thanksgiving, or for the Canadian Thanksgiving. You know, I've done stuff like that. You want to know a good time to go out, if you like to go out? Christmas Day in the evening, it seems everybody wants to go out to have a drink. And it's a great time to go out, because just because there's so many people out, but also I think what everybody's trying to do is kind of like unwind or decompress from all the family time. So it's always interesting anyway. So if you've never gone out Christmas evening and you can kind of get that kitchen pass, I recommend you try it, because you'll just see just more people than normal, and it's just a whole different atmosphere than a normal night out. All right, I have some alcohol, and we're just going to clean this up just to make sure all this sticker lifter stuff is kind of like out of here. And then we can apply the new bed. The second pass with this as well is just also maybe getting anything I might have missed the first time around. If you ever wash your car and then you dry it by towel, you'll notice you'll find more dirt that you didn't find when you were washing it. So that drying process sometimes is just as much as part of the cleaning. Okay, that's all good. That wasn't too bad, guys. Getting this bed clean. It is warm right now. And then this is what we have here. It's a bondtec sticker. It's 2 parts. I think both sides are magnetic. It's not designed to go over, I think, 80 degrees, which should be no problem at all for this printer. And it looks like it fits perfectly. Let me show you. So that is how it fits. All right. I don't know if I should apply this warm or not. I hear a weird buzzing from the printer too. It might have a fan in it. Okay, so what we're going to do is just go ahead and apply this. I mean, we've cleaned the bed how we're going to do it. So we'll peel the backing off this sticker. I'll get it started a little bit. And I just want to line up this front edge here and the side there. So I'm using my finger as a guide a little bit. And as I go down the line with this sticker, I'm just going to go back and forth. I know it's only 60 degrees on this, or at least that's what it claims, but it feels hot. So by going back and forth like this, I am removing any chance of a giant air bubble. Small air bubbles in this sort of case probably don't matter because the bed itself is big. And then that's pretty much it. I'm just trying to get this thing on. Oh. All right. Looks like I did it backwards. I had no idea these had sides, but when I try to put it on like this, it wants to sit forward or back. So he's going to have it. It seems like it has certain grippy patterns. So he's going to have to run it backwards. Unfortunately, I did not know it had sides. It's patterned or something. Because when I try to line it up perfectly here, it jumps and it offsets just a little bit. So if you do one of these on your printer and you want the nice logo in the front, check the side before you put the sticker on. So I have to do it this way, and that's the only way I can get it so it'll go on and it goes on clean. But it looks good. Yeah, see, I thought polarization, I thought it would be all north on one and all south on the other. I didn't. It's almost like there's, I don't know, a pattern in there that is just different. But like, if I go sideways, there's almost no stick at all. And you can see, you see that? That's catching on these different waves of polarity, I guess. So he can either print it slightly forward, and it's not actually a bad idea. The printer doesn't print that far forward. It can't even get up there anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal. Or he can just run it backwards. But now he can remove his prints off the bed, and by bending it instead of using a scraper, because the scraper is very, very dangerous. A lot of people will take the scraper and hurt themselves. I see kind of horror stories or whatnot online there. The only other thing we got to worry about is when homing. Let me clean this nozzle. When homing, it might hit this bed. So let's see what happens. I'll stop the heating and let's move. Does it have a home function? Yes, axis home. Now this might hit the bed, and what I'll have to do, it might take forever to hit the bed. But what I'm going to have to do is maybe adjust the end stop switch in there. I see it. I might have to make an adjustment to it. You have scars? Have you really cut yourself, Mike, with the scraper? I know I've come close. Even though I know the rule, I still sometimes find myself removing something difficult and ending up in tricky situations. Let's zoom in. I like that zoom action, right? Trying to get you all close. Getting closer. All right, so from my estimate, I'm probably 1.5 millimeters too low. That's not good. So I need to see if I can adjust this. You can Fortunately, because of the way the cutout is here, you could leave it like this as long as you set the right offset in Cura when you're slicing every print. You need to make sure you have an offset big enough to compensate for that. However, I need to see, okay, it's not energized anymore. That's good. Because it does fit, I could leave it like that, and I could have them offset the Cura profile. Let me see if I can adjust that end stop in any sort of way. Oops. Moving this printer moves the moves everything. These two screws right here, this is the end stop. It does not look like it has another position here. So what I need to do is see if there's a way I can add a all right. So you usually use a dull chisel, but then use the putty knife. Yeah, the putty knife is the dangerous one. But the dull chisel will often not release your print for you. All right, so I think I'll need to lift this up. I'm half tempted to just tell them how to modify it in Cura, but that's me. I wish the screen would show a height. It does not. It's a very simple interface that you have to endlessly turn. As soon as I stop turning it, it stops moving. All right, so yeah, I think I'll have to do major surgery in here in order to get to that piece. I'm probably not going to do that today. I'm going to show him how to change it in Cura. All right. The next problem with the printer is just this. Let's see, get a focus on there for you. This mechanism it uses for doing the filament. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it to do a focus of some sort, but it just doesn't have like a great grip on the filament. See, I can, well, actually it's turning with it, but I was able to more or less just slide the filament back and forth before. The filament is stuck in the hot end. So let me see. Let me go back and heat up the extruder. Or actually, just for the heck of it, let me get the extruder to move while it is, yeah. Yeah, anyway, long story short, we're going to see if we can trade this extruder out. So that's the extruder there, and we're going to try to trade it out for this anodized aluminum with like this bondtec style gears. These are all the parts it came with, and it comes with no instructions at all. It is built for an ender or an ANET style or whatever have you. So I think because all the patterns are based on NEMA 17, I think I can bolt it on there as well. The trick is, can I remove the screws from the extruder in there without the extruder motor falling down? That'll be fun. Okay, so we'll see what we can do. This came pre-assembled. I don't know if it has the actual bearings in there or if it has a sleeve. Sometimes to save money, because those bearings are special, they might just put a sleeve. Wow, that screw is very loose. I'm glad I kind of checked that. So let's see what's in here. And hoping for focus. Okay, there's a screw. It looks like perhaps those look like bearings. Should we push it out? And there looks like to be grease on them too. So those look like the real style bearings that bondtec uses. They seem to fit more sloppily. Is that a word? They seem to have a lot more play than a genuine bondtec. So we'll try to put this back in here. They are greased a lot. The bondtecs usually don't have that much grease. So that's different. And as I said, this screw kind of came loose. So what I'm going to do is just give it a little bit of torque. But you don't want to torque it so much that your thing won't turn anymore. So we're good. Needle bearing. Okay. Hey, Paul, I'll see you later. Thanks, Chris. And it's best to start putting together the things that start to make sense. So the other thing I notice are these big threads, which to me obviously goes to this. So I'm going to put that together. I don't really have a wrench with me, but I'll just use my super strength. Okay. I have one screw here. Is countersunk, and I only have one countersunk screw. So I'm going to assume that goes together. And they did that most likely because the arm has to go here, and they don't want that screw head to interfere with it. So that's starting to make sense. So that means the arm doesn't go like this or any other way. It goes like this to line up with that. It came with two different springs. I thought that was interesting. I don't know why. This spring is really tight. Okay, so the yellow one is really stiff. Almost, I can't compress it nearly at all. And now, so it has Z-stop and adjustments. Do I have to take the printer apart, or are there any that just kind of slide in there? Maybe with some needle nose pliers. Okay, my laziness is showing through. All right, so the other thing I noticed is this thread here is thicker, and this is the only thicker screw they gave me. So I know that this has to go in here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there somehow. I'm going to fumble while I'm on camera here. Come on, focus. All right, so the screw's starting to come through a little bit. Cool. We know what that one does. These clips are for the little Bowden release thing. This one's interesting. This looks like a sleeve. The style of the sleeve or the head seems to match that. So I think that goes in there like that. I don't think this goes here for the spring. I don't think this is a spring insert. It just doesn't make sense at all. So I think this sleeve is acting almost as a bearing right in here in the arm. So that way when you tighten the screw down to hold the motor tight, the friction of the screw or the screw head is not restricting the arm at all. And I think that's why they did that. We have one more screw hole right here. I believe we only have 3 types of screws left. They're all identical. I believe we just put one screw in. And I think this screw does nothing else other than act as a post. That is a post to kind of hold the spring where it needs to be. I'm going to go with the lighter spring, I think. Maybe. This little thing here appears to be kind of like a stopper, and I think it lines up like this. So this metal stopper on the spring, focus, hello. This metal stopper on the spring is so if I tighten the screw down, it will push on the spring and increase the tension. Or preload. I don't even know if it's called tension at that point. So I think that's it. This goes on the motor. This arm will be, let me try to get this in picture. So that's on the motor in the center. This arm will be right here. That'll line up. And then right here is where I'll have a spring to give tension. These other screws just hold the motor on. So does that one. And then the spring is spare. So this, I think this whole kit might have been, I don't know, 20 bucks. It wasn't bad. And if this helps his extruder be more awesome, then cool. Let's look at this thing up here. first things first, let me see. I need to heat up so I can remove the filament. All right. So I'm heating up to 210. That way I can pull the filament out and we can start removing this extruder, hopefully without dropping the motor inside the unit. That is one thing I don't like about the Mini. The hot end cooling fan is the same as the part cooling fan. It just channels it two different ways. There is not a separate control for the part. So your fan, you're always cooling. Okay, it's already hot. That was pretty quick. I'm going to, let's see, that's not going to work. I guess I'm going to compress this spring here and then try to rip that filament out. And that should work for me. I just don't have a way of doing it while holding a camera that I know of. Let me try it like this. There we go. No more filament. All right. So next thing I want to do, all right, that's interesting. So this screw is most likely a screw for the motor, but it doesn't hold the extruder on. And that screw is for the motor, but it does hold the extruder on. This screw holds the extruder on, and I'm going to assume there's one under this lever. Maybe, yep. And there's a screw under that lever. So we're going to see how far we can get. Maybe just by removing the screws. And I think if I remove this screw first, that's going to release the lever and all the tension here. Perhaps. That is tight. Now this episode might be titled, "Let's Break My Son's Mini." All right. So there, little ball there that holds the spring in. There we have a smooth bearing. Oops, let me get you on spring. So you see the little ball that just holds the spring in. Smooth bearing. There looks to be no tension adjustment at all for this extruder. It does seem to have that same sort of sleeve inside there for the screw. But now we can get the spring out of the way, and now we can start to remove these, which are Phillips. So I need a Phillips driver. Let me see if I have a decent Phillips driver. All right. Just want to get the right size Phillips here. Might be this one. Yep. All right. So handy dandy iFixit kit. Pretty much has everything you need at all times. So initially, I was thinking that these 4 screws held this plate down. Now that I see only 3 of them do, I should be lucky enough to remove this plate without removing this screw, which might make life a little bit easier for me. So I don't have to worry about that motor falling. If that was not the case, I would have, and I'm going to need to use both hands for this, but if that was not the case, I would have removed 3 screws, rotated the plate. Here, you can look at the front here. Rotated the plate out of the way, put a screw back in, and then remove the last screw. So, wow. super mega tight. And I went up to bigger size Phillips head too, because the smaller size, although it felt like a good fit, did not like that screw at all. This is a number 2 Phillips. So number 2 is the most common type. All right, and that Phillips, let me remove this whole plate here. No, it's dark. Sorry. It's dark because the camera is setting exposure to that bright screen. So that screw, let me remove the plate. I still have yet another plate here, and one more Phillips holding that plate on, which I'll try to get out. If I can't remove all of these Phillips, then none of this really matters. Okay. All right, so this next plate, its only purpose was to hold the Bowden end. The plus to this new extruder, not only besides being the dual drive, is it should allow him to print more flexible materials because there will be less gap. All right. Now we need to remove this drive gear. Oops, where are we? I don't know what JoJo's is, so sorry guys if it's something bad, but I need to remove that drive gear. This motor is still here. It's only being held by this one screw right here. So let me get a thing for that drive gear. Cool. All right. So I've broken it loose, but it's not wanting to come off the motor. I will try to pry it with a flathead. This might be our stopping point. Even though I took the... Here, let me take the... I'll take the screw all the way out. So there it is. It's exposure set to the screen again. So there's the little screw that was in the gear. Hello, camera. And that's quite common. But even with that out, I can't get this thing to budge. I think they glued it in or something. Normally, once you remove that grub, normally these things pop right out. I think what happened here is they decided to glue these things in to remove chance of failure. Yep, we might be stuck. This thing is on there. I don't think I have, I mean, I can go get big tools. It's not what I want it to do, though. Wow. I might be stuck. This thing does not want to come off. Let's see. Focus, focus. So the screw's out. You can see the shaft in there. But all my strength here, and it's not even budging. I try to wedge a screwdriver underneath. It's not a lot of room, but even with the screwdriver and giving it a little bit of a twist, it also did not make it budge. I I realize all the pulling force I'm giving it is also pulling on the motor shaft itself. So that's also not good. But the fact that they glued this on might have me stuck replacing the motor to do this. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something I didn't want to do today. So I might try one other thing. I'm going to go get a big pair of pliers, but if that doesn't work, I'm going to call it, I'm going to put it back together the way it was and maybe consider getting a motor another day. So I'll be right back. Oh, and I guess I can cool off this hot end. We don't need it hot. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Oops, almost tripped over my network cable. All right, so I'm going to take these pliers, nice channel locks here, maybe set them open a little bit, and see if I can get some sort of leverage on this. I could pick up the whole printer by this. So that's me picking up the printer by this gear that is supposed to be free. All right. Well, unfortunately, we're stuck. So we're going to put it back together. I'm going to look at getting another motor and then maybe even swapping out the entire motor for this. So we'll put the Bowden tube back in. Make sure it's in there real tight. I know you guys can't see it all that well, but make sure that's real tight. We'll get the grub screw back in, although I don't think this grub screw does anything at all for us. This thing is not coming off at all, but we'll put it back in anyway. Okay. Now, what do you guys think? You guys think I gave up too early? Quit too easy? Should I use a blowtorch on it? Expand the metal? I think what will happen is I will I'll get the motor off. I'll probably swap the motor out, and then I can mess with this motor all I want, and maybe I'll figure out how to get that gear off of it. So I'm just putting the screw back on for this this metal plate. This metal plate just holds the Bowden. And let's put this plate back on. And this plate, so the filament, let me get that on focus. Focus. The filament feeds through here, goes through that plate, and you see there's quite a gap between that plate and where the coupler is, and the coupler's holding the Bowden. But even with that, there just is no, there's just no clear way to do any sort of flexibles or anything, because that gap there is just going to allow the flexibles to buckle up and stop it from working. And the other problem I have is the grip of the extruder is not that great. Although it is contoured. I thought it was straight, but it is contoured. But it's been grinding a little bit, and he's had some under extrusion problems. So Put the spring back in. Get that nub lined up. Get this pulled over. And the rest I'm going to need 2 hands for because I'm going to have to put pressure on this whole thing. Oh, I have the wrong tip. Get the right tip here. So you have to compress the spring as you are putting this on. And you have to try to get it all lined up. Okay, we're functional again. It's all plastic, which is unfortunate. All right, so yes, unfortunately, we do not get to see this today. But again, that this is a bondtec style. This would go on the motor. We would tighten that grub screw there against the motor shaft. The motor on this printer is not a D shaft, so it makes tightening that even more important. This would go like that, and we would have the 2 gears mesh. The height of this would be higher, of course, and the filament feeds through here, to here, and out the Bowden tube to the printer. But the path from the end of where the gears are meshing through to the Bowden is all constrained. So it's a better system for that. The mesh gears also means the filament's being driven by both sides, which is going to give a much better contact for it. This piece here, of course, it has this little sleeve here. This sleeve goes toward this thicker screw. So when it's screwed in, it pushes against this arm. None of this assembly works without this motor in place because this can just swing as far as it wants, unless that motor was there in the way to hold it together. So I can't show you a full assembly of this without a motor. Yeah, always better to walk away, right, Mike? Yeah, so unfortunately we weren't able to do that. We did get the bed put on. That's always good. I have to adjust his Cura settings to compensate. I want to say it's probably 1.5 millimeters. So I'm going to have to adjust his Cura settings to compensate for that. Next week I should be receiving my, let me switch my camera here. Next week I should be receiving the Engravinator, and I'm going to be doing a live stream of the assembly of that. It's a beta unit. I'm one of the first ones to get one. I saw them at EARTH. It was very cool, a little orange laser engraving machine. There is an adaptation to it to use it as a pen plotter if you want to. And it's completely open source, so you could turn it into other things too. So you do have other capabilities you can do with it. That arrives next week, or this week coming up. So I should be doing a live stream of that. The following week, I should be receiving, hopefully, the Prusa Mini, and I'll be live streaming the unboxing and the 3-piece assembly of that. And then later on in the month, I'll probably get a few other things to get out of the door and also do some live streams of those. So either way, if I don't get to talk to you again, happy holidays. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, graybeard_3D. I'd really appreciate that as well. If I get back to getting this motor off and swapping the motor, I'll do that as well. So I hope to have a lot of great content for you. I hope that the video quality holds up. I do have some streaming issues here. I don't know what the cause is. But thank you again for stopping by, and I hope you guys have a great holiday. And broadcast. All right. See you later. And it's still spinning. It's saying it's ending this broadcast. I have no idea when it's actually going to do it because it's taking a long time. An error occurred. Wait a moment, then try again. It will not let me go offline. It's saying, don't quit. Let's try again. End of broadcast. I might just pull the network cable. That would solve it, right? No broadcast? No? Yeah. I really wish I got to put this into the printer. Yeah, it is not letting me end my broadcast. I'm going to close the window.